Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. My name's Dan, aka Luscent Music, and today I'm listing my best and worst songs from each Lady Gaga album. Let's go. Yeah, so basically I'll be going through each Lady Gaga album in order and I'll be giving you my best and my worst songs for each one. So I'm a huge Lady Gaga fan. If you haven't checked out my previous Lady Gaga videos, click on the box wherever it is. Let me know what your best and worst songs are for each album in the comment section. And if you want to check out my music, I'll put the links in the description. Right, let's go. So first off, we have The Fame. Doing it for the fame. I'll do worst first, because then we end on a positive note. The worst song on this album, in my opinion, is Starstruck. Honestly, I don't even remember this song happening. I had to go back through the album to I was like, oh, what's that? And I was like, oh, okay, I don't remember. Sorry, Gaga, I love you. I am a true fan, I promise. Starstruck is just a bit thin and it's quite forgettable. It's kind of just On to the best song on the album. There are some good ones. Obviously I thought of Poker Face, Love Game. My favourite song on the album is Paparazzi. Paparazzi really sums up what the whole album is about, which is this kind of unhealthy relationship with fame. And using an unhealthy relationship with fame as a metaphor for an unhealthy relationship with a person, I think is really inspired and it's super clever. And I think more than anything, it really shows us Gaga's point of view in making this album. It's also a super catchy pop song and I love all the visuals. I love the live performance she did. I think it was the MTV Music Awards that year where she got strung up in the middle of the stage and was bleeding and everything. I thought that was amazing visual storytelling and really made you think of the paparazzi as ruining these people. It was really fascinating, amazing stuff. One of the first things that really made me think, oh yeah, Gaga, she's an artist, you know? Okay, on to The Fame Monster. So for me, the worst song on the album is Monster. Obviously, we all know that the 7 or 8 tracks in Fame Monster are all really, really good. It really shows Gaga getting into the groove of it and really finding her thing. But for me, Monster starts off well with this story of the boy who ate our heart. That's really intriguing. But for me, the chorus just falls a bit flat and it doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere. And it kind of became pretty forgettable for me. It kind of just fizzes out, unfortunately. And then picking the best song on the Fame Monster was so difficult. Obviously, there's Bad Romance, there's Alejandro, there's Telephone, but it's none of those. For me, the best song on the Fame Monster is Speechless. Now, Speechless is such a special song. I remember listening to it and being so intrigued because it sounded like a ballad, this kind of rock ballad, but it also felt so unique at the same time. And then I found out the story about her writing it for her father to try and convince him to take this surgery. It kind of took the song to a whole new level for me. So the song perfectly encapsulates the kind of emotional side of this kind of love ballad, but fuses it with this kind of on the edge of your seat, raw kind of performance. The way she uses the chromatic scale in the composition, it really feels she's so emotional that maybe she'll fall apart at any moment and she's lost her voice. She can't sing, she can't write, she can't do anything. The lyrics and the music and the way it's performed just all add up to be this gut-wrenchingly raw performance of a song that is totally unique and just a masterpiece. I love it so much. It's one of my favourite Gaga songs. It's on the knife edge of emotional rawness, and I think it's just so good. I love it. It's perfect. I was born this way, I was born this way. Right, okay, let's go on to Born This Way, which is one of my favourite albums ever, honestly. And this was really hard. I had to really go back through and listen to some of the songs I hadn't listened to in a while and really kind of suss out which one I wanted to objectively put as the weakest song on the album. And for me, it ended up being Bloody Mary. This song has so many interesting things going for it, the strings and all the kind of religious overtones, the kind of iconography of it. It has a lot of stuff going for it, but for me it just doesn't really come together, and it kind of was probably the least memorable of the tracks on Born This Way. When all the other tracks are so strong, I think it just didn't quite come together, so I'm gonna have to put it as my worst. Obviously the best was so hard to choose. Emotionally, I wanted to go with Born This Way because it means so much to me personally. But I think, like, as a song, there are stronger songs on the album. Like, I thought about putting Judas on there. I thought about Scheisse. I thought about Americano. But in the end, I went for The Edge of Glory. I'm on the edge. I think this is probably a fairly popular choice. It's just so euphoric. So, like, so much of Born This Way is about embracing your inner child and really celebrating, like, almost like naivety. And I think that The Edge of Glory, as the finale of the album, really is this kind of euphoric expression of naive love. It almost feels like a kind of teenage love song. And right from the start, it builds beautifully into that perfect hook. The I'm on the edge, 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 I'm on the edge. It's just so well written. It's beautiful. And it really sends us off with this beautiful romantic message of, like, just love who you are and love who you want. It's just such a perfect message to end the album with. Free my mind, Artpop. So, Artpop, one of the most divisive albums in her catalogue. One of my absolute favourites. I think it's balmy. I think it's out there. And there's so much of it I love. But the worst song in this album for me was not hard at all. At all. It was Jewels and Drugs. Jewels and Drugs. It just doesn't fit with the whole rest of the album. Like, it just feels like a bit of an ego trip. I just don't get it. And when the whole rest of the album is this kind of bursting of, like, crazy kind of creativity in this kind of euphoric arty headspace, for it to have a song called Jewels and Drugs, it just doesn't fit with that at all. Don't like it. And now, for me, the best song on Artpop is Gypsy. Gypsy. I didn't listen to Artpop when it first came out, so actually the first time I heard it was her performing it on Japanese television. I think I was watching it on YouTube, and she did like an acoustic version at the piano for this TV show, and I was crying. I was absolutely just touched my soul. I then bought Artpop and then realised how amazing it was. So I'm sorry, it was a few years later, I apologise. It fuses beautiful romanticism with floor filler-esque electro anthem-ness. It's a really unique song for that as well. It goes to a place that you're not expecting, and it is all the more euphoric and all the more exciting for that. Like, I think the reason it touched me so emotionally was because I was going through a really similar frame of mind. So it talks about travelling and moving on from ones you love and leaving them behind for the promise of something more, for the promise of adventure, for the promise of love. And for me, like, I'd been living in Japan for 2 years at that point, and I was in the process of leaving, and it had been a really difficult decision. But ultimately, this song really awakened the reasons why I was doing it. I was moving away so I could do more adventure. I'd spent 2 years there, I'd had an amazing time, and leaving didn't mean that I wasn't leaving because I hated it, but I was leaving because I didn't want to be comfortable. I was leaving because I wanted to have more adventures, and until I heard this song, I don't think I'd realised that was my reasoning, and it kind of awakened it in me and just was such a deep emotional connection, and therefore kind of became one of my favourite songs for that reason. It really helped me come to terms with a really difficult transition for me. So now on to Joanne. I know this album wasn't hugely popular with certain groups of Gaga fans, but for me, a lot of the songs on the album really spoke to what I love in kind of a singer-songwriter kind of thing. That said, there were a few songs that didn't really hit the mark. One of those songs is Come to Mama. Like, I don't know, like, for me, like, musically it just feels a bit primary school. when so many of Gaga's songs play with chromatic scales and play with jazz modal theory, this song almost, like, with the it just becomes a little bit childish, and I think maybe that was the point, but I don't think that necessarily comes across very well. I don't think, like, artistically it really works, and the lyrics almost become a little bit preachy. It's an odd song. It didn't really vibe with me. On to the best song on the album. There are a handful of songs on there which I loved. I almost chose Diamond Heart because I really love that song, but I have to say the best song on the album is the title track, Joanne. It's just you can tell it comes from such a personal place. It's so unassuming, like the way that the finger-picked guitars are like layered up to kind of create this kind of rambling rhythm. So the story is Gaga kind of writing this song to try and heal her family trauma surrounding her auntie who died when she was young. Were Gaga a lesser artist, I think it would have gone too dramatic. It could have gone way too dramatic, like she died before her time, blah 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 blah. But it doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels like a representation of an ache. It doesn't feel like a harsh dramatic pain. It's just an ache, and it's so beautiful in the way that it kind of almost tumbles over itself rhythmically. It's like it's soft and it's subtle and it's just so poignant and really beautiful. It's so elegant in the way that it's written. Go, where do you think you're going? Oh, the lyric, like, where do you think you're going? It's almost like, wait, you're not supposed to die young. The middle eight where she says, honestly, I know where you're going. It's like coming to terms with it. So it feels like such a beautifully healing song. Oh, it's just so beautiful. I love it so much. Finally, onto Chromatica. So if you haven't checked out my Chromatica coverage so far, click on the annotation on the screen and you can check out all my reactions and things. It took a lot of thinking to kind of come up with what I would objectively say are my best and worst songs on that album, because it is so recent, so it's a little bit difficult, but I have made a decision. And the worst song on the album for me is Babylon. Now, I do like the song. I do enjoy Babylon quite a lot, actually. And like Chromatica is brilliant. I'm obsessed with it. So like the worst song on the album is still good, let's be honest. For me, Babylon doesn't necessarily work in terms of the storyline of the whole album. Like I understand like the need for a kind of celebratory song at the end, but like it ends up being a little bit jarring in the way that it's kind of a club voguing dance number compared to like the Sign From Above and Thousand Doves being a bit more elegant. And I think that like the album might have finished better with 1,000 Doves. I don't know, but I would say it's probably the weakest. As I said on my Chromatica Revisited video, Babylon might grow, in my opinion, a lot more when I actually get to hear it in a club environment. I feel like it's gonna be one of those kind of songs, but for the moment, I'd say it's the worst song on the album. And now, the best song on the album. This was really difficult because like there were a few songs that I had such a personal connection to, particularly Free Woman, like really, really moved me. But ultimately, I think in terms of artistic achievement and in terms of the actual level of songwriting, I think Sign From Above is the best song on the album. Right from the off, Sign From Above gave me such a visceral reaction. It was like the visual storytelling is just electric, pardon the pun. Like the lyric, when I was young, I prayed for lightning. It just creates this visual picture so brilliantly, so quickly. And the build in the chorus into that kind of dance drop is just so euphoric. It's just absolutely electric, completely intoxicating. Love that element of it. The thing that sends this over the top is really how well it brings together the story of the entire album. So as we discussed on previous videos, the story of this album is really her finding healing through making music. And this song really sums that up so beautifully. The lyrics and the emotional drama of this song really reveal how she's almost pulling herself out the dredges of depression into this euphoric state. And it really becomes the emotional apex of the album. So I think that like, for me, like I had to put that as the best song on the album, really. Right, there you have it. Those are my best and worst songs from each Lady Gaga album. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to write your best and worst songs down in the comments. I'll be really interested in seeing what all your opinions are. Yeah, if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the channel. What are you waiting for? Bye. Rain on me.